Dave, thanks so much for joining us.
Nice to be here. Good to see you again, Keith.
I know I'm excited to catch up with you and hear about what's been going on with Wasabi, because I was looking, I'm like, when we did our podcast episode, it was episode 29. So it was quite some time ago, which is still one of my favorite podcast episodes. And I'm going to share the reason why pretty soon. But Wasabi's been growing very rapidly. You just announced a recent round of funding, 27.5 million, 140 million raised total. So there's a lot going on. So for people that aren't familiar with Wasabi, what does the company do?
Well, we're cloud storage. So, if you've got data from a telescope in Chile or data from police body cams or my x-rays from Mass General or a feature-length film, Superman film that you need to store for the next 20 years, whatever it is, store it in Wasabi. It's hot storage. It's instantly available. We made it to be almost identical with Amazon S3, if you know that product. And so you can unplug theirs and plug in ours, and it's 1/5 the price and faster.
So how does that, how do you make it? So you're taking on some of these massive cloud companies that everybody knows their brands. How are you taking on these incumbents and doing it at such a, more affordable rate?
Amazon and the others have a different business model from us. They're trying to get your entire infrastructure in the cloud. If you go to their website, they talk about the 200 or 300 different cloud products that they have, everything from, including storage. They don't talk about storage much because it's a lot more boring than machine learning or voice recognition or facial recognition or, all of the whiz-bang stuff that they've come up with. But, that's what they're selling. So if you look at Amazon versus Microsoft, those are the two big rivals in infrastructure cloud. They talk about, our suite of 200 products is better than your suite of 200 products. And, that's the way they market. And storage is kind of lost in the noise, right? But there's a lot of people that just want storage. If you're putting in a new X-ray machine at Mass General, it's going to generate a lot of data. Where are you going to store it? And the traditional approach has been, let's go out and buy a box from EMC or NetApp or something like that, and we'll store it in that. Now people are discovering that they can store that data in the cloud with Wasabi for less than the annual maintenance on a box, from Dell EMC or NetApp or whatever. And so, that's what we do. So we don't really compete with those hyperscalers in the sense that we're not marketing the same message. We're saying we're just the storage guys. We're like the electric company. And I don't care whether you're plugging in your hair dryer or your computer, it's just electricity. And that's what we are. We're just storage. You can put whatever you want on there. You can put CBS News or you can put Dave Friend's X-ray from Mass General. It doesn't make any difference to us.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, I think it's important to note your track record and your co-founder, Jeff Flowers. This is not your first company together. There's been many of them. And reason why our podcast episode was one of my favorites is because of ARP instruments and that legendary sound from Bob O'Reilly, and lots of other great musicians have used this product, which is a synthesizer that you created, which I just love that story. It's just one of those really nuggets of Boston history that I love.
Well, I was in my 20s and, I didn't realize at the time how important this company ARP was going to be in the history of music. But of course, now there's, every high school rock band has synthesizers in it. And interestingly enough, these analog synthesizers that I designed back in the 70s are all being reissued by a Japanese company, Korg. And I just got one. It's the first time I've seen this instrument in 40 years. And here it is completely, reborn and selling like hotcakes. And it's amazing to me. It's a little bit like the vinyl record thing. But, this ARP 2600 I just got was used to make the voice of R2-D2 in the Star Wars films and, and countless rock and roll and jazz albums and things like that. So it's pretty amazing to see it come back. It wasn't necessarily the most remunerative thing I ever did in my life, but it was definitely the coolest thing I ever did in my life.
Yeah, I love that story. And if you want to listen to more of that story and then some of the other companies that you and Jeff started, you can listen to the podcast and get lots of the details. But one of the more recent companies is Carbonite.
Right. Yeah, Carbonite, ultimately became, I think, the biggest company in consumer backup and a pretty substantial player in sort of SMB computer backup. And Carbonite was big success, went public on the NASDAQ, and then got sold for about $1.5 billion. So it was a great exit for everybody.
So what was it about this area, hot storage, that attracted you and Jeff, that, hey, there's a big company to be built here again?
Well, storage is a booming market, right? IDC, I think, says that cloud storage is growing 61% year over year currently. And we see in our own customer base that, customers just keep sending us more and more and more data. The video cameras go up in resolution, surveillance cameras go up in frame rate. People want to keep things for a longer period of time. And, just to go back to Star Wars, you remember that R2-D2 sticks that probe into the wall of the Death Star and then downloads all the battle plans and everything else. That's the way the world's going to be. You expect to go online and all the world's information should be available at the tip of your finger. Mm-hmm. And so we look at that and we say, holy cow, what a phenomenal market to be in, and talk about a rising tide lifting all the boats. And as the cost of the storage goes down, people just don't bother to delete anything anymore. It's like your attic, it fills up with junk and nobody ever wants to go clean it up because it's not worth the effort. And so, I just looked at it and said, look, we're really good at storage. We've been doing storage at Carbonite for 12 years. We made a lot of mistakes and we learned from them. And, we know more about this stuff than practically anybody on the face of the earth. And, Amazon's out there, yeah, but, no matter how big you are, you can't be best at everything. And we've got an opportunity to be the cloud storage guys. And nobody else is trying to claim that territory. Nobody else is doing for cloud storage what, say, Iron Mountain is doing. If you got a cardboard box full of papers, you just give it to Iron Mountain, right? They've built a great brand. And we have an opportunity to build a great brand around cloud storage, so that if you've got some data to store, we're just the obvious choice. So it seems to be working, Keith. It's going great.
Well, and as I highlighted, you raised the recent round of funding. So where is Wasabi now as far as number of employees and your growth plans ahead, or anything else you can share?
So we got about 22,000 customers today. More importantly, we have about 4,500 channel partners, and that's key to our access to market, because Amazon and the others go direct. We're going through channels. And so we're signing up channel partners all over the world. We've got 4 data centers in the US. We've got data center in Europe. We've got a data center in Japan. And this year we'll be, expanding our geographical footprint pretty considerably with some of the new money that we've raised. And, from my perspective, we're kind of like going as fast as we can. So we'll be continuing to raise money and continuing this 3x year over year growth out into the future.
Now, what as far as hiring is concerned, like, what are your plans as far as different functions that you'll be hiring for, and then what's it like to work there?
Well, it's exciting. Everybody likes working for a company that's growing really fast, because it creates a lot of opportunities for personal advancement inside the company. So, a lot of people get promoted because, when you're going from 50 employees to 100 employees to 200 employees, if you can recruit and hire from and promote from within rather than going outside to bring in every new person, it sends a good message to the organization. And frequently you've got people who are, qualified, but just haven't been able to have an opportunity to move up to that next level in the organization. But as we open geographically, we put a new data center in Japan, we have to hire a country manager, then we have to hire tech support people to help the customers implement Wasabi, and we have to hire marketing people to help the channel partners that we're developing, bring the product to market, train them, teach them how to sell, show them why they can make more money selling cloud storage than they can selling some hardware. So all of those things go together. And probably this year, we'll be hiring more engineers, I'm sure. but we'll also be hiring a lot of, what I call field engineers, people who really understand our product top to bottom and can work with customers to implement solutions. And we'll be hiring people who can go out, recruit, train, and and activate a big channel. Probably the goal this year is to double the number of channel partners that we have.
Wow, very cool. So the tech industry has been resilient through this crazy time period that we've been living through. So people have options to find great opportunities to and companies to work for. So why is now the ideal time to join Wasabi?
Well, I just saw an interview with Andy Jassy from Amazon, and he said 96% of the world's $3.6 trillion IT budget is still on-prem. So the migration to the cloud has really just started. And, as big as those guys are, his point is that the opportunity is still all out in the future. So, when you think about, where a company like Wasabi could be in 5 years or 10 years, it's a tremendous opportunity. And to be part of that, I think is a really cool thing. So, when you think about Wasabi driving down the cost of storage by almost an order of magnitude versus somebody like Amazon, I can't even tell you or predict what the impact of that is going to be on the world. But, if the cost of, let's say, bandwidth hadn't dropped by a factor of 100 over the last 15 years, there would be no Zoom, there would be no podcasts, there would be no, YouTube, there'd be no Netflix. So, and I'm sure that the guys who were laying fiber in the ground didn't predict any of this stuff. I mean, how could you? And so from my perspective and the perspective of employees who work for Wasabi, we're part of something that's going to change the world in some way. I don't know what it's going to be, but anytime the cost of something like data storage drops by almost an order of magnitude, it's got to create opportunities that nobody's even thought of today. So we'll see what happens, but it's definitely going to change things. So it's not only fun to be part of a company that's successful and growing and recognized as a successful business in certainly in the New England region, but it's also kind of fun to see what's going to happen. I mean, when I made those synthesizers, I had no idea how that was going to change the sound of popular music.
So cool. So cool. Well, if you are interested in exploring opportunities at Wasabi, which, as Dave mentioned, there's a tremendous market growth opportunity ahead for this company. So check out all their job listings on VentureFizz. Go to their company page, which is venturefizz.com/wasabi, and you'll see all their listings there. Dave, again, thanks for taking the time. It was always good to catch up and hear what's going on at Wasabi.
Thanks, Keith.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. At VentureFizz, our mission is to share the stories of companies, their people, and culture. So if you're interested in more interviews with founders and executives in the tech industry, make sure you click on the subscribe button. Thanks so much for watching.